I know where there's some, right here in the hall, clerk.
No, Molly, not in there. I have
And it's time for a new project. This is a 1951 Zenith H1086R cabinet with a 10H20 AM/FM tuner aboard, as well as the Cobramatic phonograph player. This was, I don't know, somewhere between $300 and $450 back in the day, so it was a very expensive proposition to buy one. You had to be middle class, upper middle class to buy it. I got this one from a guy named Don? I'm sorry, I screwed up your name already. Who lives over near the Oregon coast. His intention, he had them for years. I got two of them. The other one's a different model, but you'll see it eventually. The chassis, the 10H20 chassis used in this radio is used in a number of radios, including their original televisions introduced in 1949, 48, 49 in there. So this chassis is used, pretty widely in the Zenith line in the day. What else to say about it? It looks good. The cabinet's in good shape. The insides have seen better days, as they all have, but that's what we're here for, right? Let's take a look at the Cobramatic. The Cobra tone arm was the first thing introduced. That was introduced in 1946, I believe. Then they added in 1950 the Cobramatic changer with infinite speed. They were pretty proud of this package. The Cobra tone arm was one of the very first ultra-light tone arms relative to the old crystal-driven 20-pounders of previous years, pre-war years at least. So this one's going to be an interesting challenge to clean up and get working again. I presume it hasn't worked in a long time. So there are many challenges. This one came with a free record, some symphony music of some kind. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Here's the chassis. As you can see, it is loose. I was careful in transporting it, so it should be fine. The guy who gave it to me told me he pulled the chassis, but I didn't ask him why, so I'm not sure why that would be. That looks like a cable that would go to the front turntable. Looks like the audio transformer has been tacked in up here in this corner. Nice big speaker. That's probably, 10, 12-inch speaker down there. So very nice. Looks like an RCA plug. Let's take a closer look at this label. It's up in here. There's a tube chart, radioing tube chart. Yeah, you can see the way that transformer is mounted up in there. It's certainly not original. In pencil right here is marked chassis 10H20, which makes some sense. Down here it says 6C4OR 9002, whatever that is. And it looks like there's perhaps a serial number right here. Something is falling down in there. don't know what that is. So as usual, there's work to do, but I'm looking forward to it. This is going to be a nice project. So the first thing I'll do is go ahead and take the chassis out, and we'll go from there. I started by removing the cover on the right side of the cabinet that covers the turntable and the album storage area. And there's the turntable, and as you can see, it doesn't look great. It's hard to tell what's happened to it. Won't know until I get it out, but that'll be after the chassis is rebuilt. So the chassis, as I said, it looks like I know it's loosened. Dick had removed it for some reason, perhaps to replace that audio transformer. This looks like zip cord for the power line with one of the hardware store quick fit plug-ins on the end. It's very flexible, but probably the wrong one. Probably needed a longer one. The cables that run down from the tone arm include power and the signal from the tone arm itself. And then there's another, this RCA looking plug here. Unsure what all of this is for. Looks like one too many cables at first glance. But one of them for sure is the power for the turntable, which I'll have to watch. Pardon the light, I've got one, my studio is a garage, and light's odd. That looks like a spark arrestor over there in the corner. That's where the antenna, there's the FM loop, which runs along the top of the chassis and down and around behind the speaker a couple of times. So that looks like the FM loop. I don't know if they made any special disposition for AM antennas or not. I guess I'll find out. Anyway, there's more of the FM loop wire. The front panel has rows of 3 switches on each side, and when you get close you can see some really cramped print that lets you know those are the tone controls, and there are 6 of them. So rather than a tone dial, this is more like a preloaded equalizer. So the challenge for getting the chassis out is to make sure that the that control panel doesn't break apart when I pull the chassis out. Right now I don't know how those tone switches are connected to the chassis. But we'll turns out the tone controls are each side has a bundle of wires that terminate in this plug right here. So there must be some place on the chassis, a place for that plug to go into. But what this means to me is that the chassis is free probably of the front panel, and I should be able to back it out once I get the audio transformer unbolted from the side of the cabinet. Now the audio transformer is uncoupled, unbolted, and sitting on the cabinet, so I should be able to back the chassis out. Well, let's see if it comes out. Pardon my elbow, shoulder. I forgot to hold up the audio transformer while I was lifting it out, so I had to regroup for a second. Also, the cable harnesses from the tone controls on the front panel were caught on the dial. There was what was hanging it up. So I got those out of the way, remembered to retrieve the transformer, and it just slid out very nicely. Inside there you can see there are bolts holding the front panel in place. Also the wiring harnesses for the tone controls. There are 2 cardboard, another piece of strange cardboard, there are two cardboard strips that are stapled to the front of the cabinet, there and there, and I don't know what they're for yet. I may never know. Whatever they were doing, they ain't doing it anymore. It might have something to do with those heavy cardboard strips, but who knows. So, on to the next. We'll take a look at the chassis. And here's the chassis on the bench. Dirty as expected. There's the speaker wire. There's the audio transformer that has been replaced. Speaker wire fortunately just plugged into the speaker, so it was easy to remove. The mystery cardboard strips. Might have been a heat baffle, maybe, because those are the output tubes you see there near the top. But right there is where the tone switches plug into the chassis. It looks pretty normal. Miniature tubes that were developed during the war are showing up in the radios. The funny thing is that it wasn't too long after this radio was introduced that all those tubes were supplanted by transistors. Zenith switched to transistors quickly. There are a lot of IF cans here because it's both AM and FM. So there are 3, I believe, for AM and the remainder for FM, as far as I remember. Here's the front. The dial plate itself is made of tin. The volume on-off control on the right works, but the dial cord is broken, and there's a 2-part shaft there, and part of it is really frozen up. So I don't know what's going on with that. We'll have to explore that. The inside dial is as I recall, the AM dial, and the outside ring is the FM, or vice versa. I'll have to look more closely. The next video we do. In this instance, it feels like the tuning capacitor is frozen up, and it kind of is, but it's cool. As you turn the tuning capacitor, there are 2 coils with metal slugs in them, probably brass, I don't know what they are, that raise up on this scaffolding. So you're fine-tuning not only the tuning condenser itself, but these 2 slugs. So that's very cool. I'm impressed with that. The tuning dial drags on the panel a bit, but that's going to be easy to clean up. But that rocking motion of the tuning slugs tickles me. Let's take a peek underneath, see what the damage is, if there is any. At first glance, it looks pretty unmolested, as Uncle Doug says. You can see a huge gob of taped wire there where they tied in the replacement audio transformer. Mostly waxy caps. There is one orange drop right over there, but most of them look like they're still in place. There's a really crusty wire wound that's falling apart down there, and it looks like another replacement wire wound, that square one that's up toward the middle of the chassis, or toward the top of the chassis. Looks to me like it's been replaced too. But overall, not bad. It's not been terribly messed with. The filter cap, which is right under my finger there, is still in circuit, so that's still in place. Much to my surprise. I'm surprised it didn't buzz like crazy, but it probably did. The speaker is out, and it's a beaut. It looks great. Permanent magnet, so that's going to be no problem. And to look at, it's really light. It's remarkably light, and the cone is perfect. Just look at that. It's pristine. So a nice 12-inch vintage speaker in this cabinet. course, FM stereo hadn't come along yet, so FM was mono, same as AM. The voice coil doesn't scratch when you push down on it. So overall, it's a very nice speaker. Just needs a little cleaning, and it'll go back in service with no problem. There are four, the mounting bolts are cushioned with rubber pads, and 3 of them are still soft. One of them is turned to something. I don't know what, but that one up there is gotten really hard and nasty. So it'll probably have to be replaced, but I'm sure somebody out there makes those replacement grommets. They are, in essence, rubber with a eyelet through them. So, all in all, a win. That's good. I'll put paper over it, keep myself from destroying it, and we're ahead. So that's it for this one. Take care of yourselves. Be safe.